Justin Kraft, welcome to the show, my man.
What's up, Cody? Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
This is really cool. I've been following you on social media for so long, and then you posted one time, "I will fix your slice in 30 days," and I was like, "Bet, let's go." And I just reached out to you, and I was like, "Hey, man, I need your help." And then you just replied back like, "Hey, here's how we do it. Let's get started. Let's go." And I think my favorite thing about you, from one coach to another, is that how you held me accountable. And like, this just goes to show, like, even people that are diehards and like want to work hard and train and work on their swing, they even need someone that's going to hold them accountable. And you would like write me messages in the app and be like, "Hey, man, I need some swings. Let's go." And I just really appreciated that. So
yeah, before you give me too much credit, remember at the end of that, I said, you'll get your money back if you still slice. So that was what was motivating me.
You did do that. But yeah, man. This is our first time like meeting each other. So I'd love to hear, just more about you and then how we, how you got started and how we ended up, meeting each other on the app.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start off by piggybacking on what you said. And if you slice the golf ball, it's your fault and you need to fix it, because golf's not fun that way. And you can hopefully attest to that. But I believe everyone can fix a slice, and less than it should be much less than 30 days. I just gave 30 for a gracious period, but like a matter of a lesson or two. And if you're still slicing it, there's a serious problem. So, but a little bit about me. I didn't start playing golf till I was probably in 7th or 8th grade. I'm born and raised in small town Iowa. We got one grocery store, no stoplights. It's 1,000 people maximum. And fell in love with it right away. My dad didn't want me to play golf. He was an all-state track runner. And so I had to find my own clubs. I had to find my own ride to practice, all this fun stuff. But ended up having a good high school career. Played low-level college golf at an NAIA level school in Orange City, Iowa, Northwestern College. Shout out. Any college kids or high school kids looking to play golf, it's a great place. Had some success there. I was an All-American my sophomore year, and I won Conference Player of the Year twice. So I had some playing success, but I also recognized that like the pros are really, really good. So that was never really on the table for me. But I actually had a short career in banking. And like after a few months of sitting at that desk, I was like, no way, I got to get back into golf. So exactly, I got to get out of here. I got to go be on a golf course. So now I am the director of instruction at Spring Hill in Wayzata, Minnesota. It was recently ranked number 2 on the Golf Digest best courses in each state. So awesome. Loving my time here. We got an awesome membership, and I just love helping people play better golf. It's so much fun.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think you do a great job. I mean, like I said, like how detailed you were and like really got in there with my swing. Like, I thought it really kind of blew me away, like how much someone can do on an app and how involved we can be. So, yeah, you're a great coach. So
I completely agree. I'm going to piggyback off that real quick.
Yeah.
I think ever since COVID hit, it is amazing how we've kind of dove into online instruction. And it's actually incredible what you can do just across the country with a student. So just like you're in Oklahoma, I'm in Minnesota, like we were able to make some cool changes, and it didn't even really take that long. And we didn't have to fly. We didn't have to drive. We were just able to do it. So it's sweet. Yeah,
it was awesome. So how did you get into doing all this? And like, you've obviously built a really big like social media following, which probably brings you, brought me to you, and I'm sure countless others. So how did you get into doing all that and to where you're at now with servicing people on the app?
Yeah, good question. So when I joined the PGA, they kind of ask you like, what's your mission? And I'm like, man, if I could change as many lives as I could and just try to grow the game, it sounds cliche, but really grow the game to as big as we can get it. And I think COVID helped, and Tiger winning the Masters and like that all helped, right? But I really wanted to see, how can I reach the most people? And I figured social media is like super powerful. So I started getting on those platforms, and I just decided, I'm going to go on there and be pretty genuine with people. I'm going to be pretty authentic. I'm going to post tips that I think will help most golfers, and they might not help all golfers. And I try to put that in the caption, like, hey, this is social media. I have not seen your swing. And so this might apply to you, especially if you fight a hook. But if you don't fight a hook, like maybe just scroll to the next tip. Like I'm not going to try and clickbait anybody into that stuff, but it really all stemmed from how can I help like the global handicap in the entire country? How can I make that 0.001% better? And that's really all that motivated me.
Yeah. And so how did you get into doing it on an app? Because I assume you did it like in person first, right? And you still do, right?
100%. So I started my career at Golf Tech, which is a super famous instructional company. Did so many lessons there the first couple of years. So got into it that way, and then decided, they're kind of indoors only. And I really wanted to explore, maybe some more short games, some more putting, hitting outside more. I wanted to do some more of that stuff. I realized that my true happiness probably comes when I'm at a golf course, like a lot of us, right? So waking up and getting to go to a golf course every day is amazing. So I had a quick stint in North Carolina where I worked at Carolina Country Club, and I was an assistant pro there. I did some teaching there, and then eventually came back to Minnesota to Medina Country Club, where I was their player development professional. So I did a lot of junior golf. Loved it. Loved the kids. This award right here, I won the 2022 Youth Development Award for a lot of the work I did with those kids. And then, when a club like Spring Hill comes knocking, you answer that phone call, and what they had to offer was just awesome. So the ability to teach some of the coolest members, I think, in the world, and at an incredible facility, it was just one I couldn't turn down. So all this time, I'm also posting some of that social media stuff, but really what it stemmed from was a deep passion for understanding, like when I was playing competitive golf, why did I struggle with a hard left miss? Or why did I occasionally hit a floaty weak shot to the right? And someone would tell me, oh, your arm did this. I'm like, well, my arm does that all the time, and I hit a lot of good shots. So what is the real reason for that? And I think that natural curiosity is kind of what carried me here.
Yeah. And I loved one time you told me, what was it? Oh, my swing. Like, why was I doing something? And you said, well, it's not magic. Right. And that really like resonated with me. And it's the same thing with fitness, right? Like
100%.
Someone's like, why can't I lose any weight? Or why am I gaining so much weight or this or that? It's like, well, it's not magic. Right. Like, so that was like a very, like, to me, that just really resonated and made me think about, it's like, hey, like, this isn't impossible. Like, I don't need to get frustrated that my swing or the ball is doing this. It's not magic. Let's work
100%. 100%. So one thing I think is undertaught in golf is kind of like neuroscience, and it's a big word, but really it's like, how do we learn? How do we actually change what we do? Like at one point in your life, you had to think about how you brushed your teeth. You had to think about how to take a bite of pie, right? Mm-hmm. But eventually those skills became autonomous where you didn't have to think about them. Well, the golf swing you step up to the first tee with right now, that's your autonomous golf swing. And it's probably pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
There's a very few amount of really good golf swings, right? So how do we then, and it's very interesting to me, and Luke Benoit has been one of my mentors. He works at Interlock, and he's really good at understanding how the brain works and how we learn. And so it's exactly like you're saying. It does take time. Now, there's simple things you can change, like at setup, to immediately influence the direction the ball goes, but your swing is probably going to look pretty much the same. So I've really gotten to learn a lot more the past few years, and I think the future of golf instruction is probably going to be tailored towards how do we just make people better faster. And a lot of that comes with feedback. A lot of it comes with exaggerating. So whatever I tell you to do, if you can try and overdo it and make me look like a fool, the faster we get to where we want to be, right? So I think that's a great point. A lot of times if someone has that comment during a lesson, like, oh, I tried it and it kind of looks the same, I'll tell them a story about like when I was in high school and my high school coach said, you don't hit the ball that far, you're never going to play college golf. And so I hired a trainer like Cody, and I walked in and I said, I need to hit the ball 290. They said, well, what do you hit it now? I said, 230. And I said, all right, let's get to work. And so we did this long workout and I'm sweating. And then I go to hit a driver the next day and it goes 230. And I'm like, this is crap. And it's like, when people hear that, they're like, well, duh, you only did one workout. I'm like, that's the point.
Right.
You only had one lesson. Like, how do you expect change to be like that? So it's a great point you make. And sorry if I was a little too harsh on you.
Oh no, I want to be harsh, and I think what really because I've done in-person lessons before where it's like a full hour, and what I really like about the way you do the coaching, and it's probably like a prodigy of using the app is it's like, hey, show me this, all right, now go work on that, come back, show me another video, let's work on this now. Because I've always found like if I'm sitting there for a full hour, they're kind of just watching me like make the same mistake, and I need to kind of go digest it for a minute and work on it on my own, hammer this drill out. Because you would give me, I want to see 100 swings like this, 100 swings like that. Well, and
we don't have time for that in our hour lesson, right? I don't want to watch you make 100 practice swings. So I always tell people, like people that are near me, and they're like, "Hey, should I come see you for a lesson, or should we do I have this monthly subscription program online. It's $199. An in-person lesson is $170. So it's like, would you rather have me for an hour or would you rather have me for 5 minutes every day this month? And most of them, that's like, oh yeah, I'd probably rather have you for 5 minutes every day this month. And it's crazy how much faster people can get better. And I don't want to knock in-person lessons, but it's just crazy. I mean, the Skillest app has been unbelievable.
Right.
So it's a good way to get better fast.
Yeah, one of the places I worked, I used to go to an indoor hitting, a TrackMan place down in Austin, Texas called Rock Golf, ROK. A little shout out to them. But they did a really cool thing with their instructors, and they called it, you would buy a bucket of minutes. And so, you know, there's a guy walking around in there, and if you wanted to use some of your minutes, but hey, man, like, can you help me with this real quick? And like, they would, you know, check off that you used 10 minutes, and they'd be like, okay, cool, I'm going to work on that for a while. So like, that's kind of the same thing with how you do it. And the other thing I love about that, right, is you get your feedback and then it's up to you to go practice it. So like on the Skillest app, when I have people that are subscribing for monthly plans and stuff, they'll be sending me videos every day, every other day. And I think I told you this before we were on air. Like when I identify a piece in the swing that needs to look different and they video it themselves and they see that, they're almost hesitant to upload it because they're like, I don't want to disappoint you because that looks exactly like it did 2 days ago. And so I always say like, hey, the camera, like it doesn't lie. Like I told you, some people turn on the camera and they say, oh, the camera adds 10 pounds. Well, the camera doesn't make you look like you come over the top. You do come over the top, like stuff like that. Right. So I think early extend in my case.
Early extension bad in your case.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, I just love that it kind of makes them feel accountable. And then the other cool thing is you can go back 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and you can look at their old swings and you can say, look at how far we've come. Like it's all kind of dialogued right there. So it's pretty cool.
I love that. And, you know, that puts a little onus on them too, a little more accountability to keep working on it themselves, because, you know, I feel like you can show up to the next session, you know, you haven't practiced and the coach can tell, and it's like kind of disappointing. It's like, here I am, you know, now we got to spend another hour doing the same stuff because I didn't work on it, where, you know, now it's like, hey, if I'm going to upload this video and I didn't do it right, I better go make some more videos.
Correct. And a lot of people have done that, and I'll say, hey, it's been 5 days. Where's your practice at? And they'll be like, honestly, I've practiced 3 times and it doesn't look good enough to send you yet. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Feel free to still upload it and I'll tell you the same thing, but
keep working on it.
Exactly.
I love that. You know, I thought it was great. I mean, I've done in person. I've had a lot of coaches, and yeah, I've really had a great time working with you. So I kind of want to steer us in the direction now. You know, we took, you and I posted on our polls on social media, and I posted in my private Facebook group for my Lift Heavy Swing Fast members some of the questions, and we got so many questions we could probably make 7 podcasts out of it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to prioritize.
But I keep looking up at my clock. I'm like, okay, I know we got a bunch of questions, but I don't want to make this like a whole Q&A.
Sure.
But if we don't get to all of them, so be it. But we identified like 7 that I think were pretty recurring. 7 or 8, I think, that are pretty recurring for people.
And I'll try not to drag on. I'll try to give nice, sweet answers.
You know, I kind of like the drag on though. Like if there's value, you provide valuable information. So, you know, you know, I'm a huge believer as being a coach that you can say the same thing like 2 or 3 different ways, and it may hit 2 or 3, and it may be the right way to hear it for that person. So that's what I believe. So feel free to be long-winded, and, you know, I'll edit it later if I have to.
Okay.
All right. So let's go with the first one. And this relates to practice, I guess. So how important is it to keep changing things versus working with what you have?
Yeah, that's a super question. I'd probably start with how bad are you to start, right?
Yeah.
So I think at the baseline level, we have 2 things that we can kind of work on in golf. And one is mechanics, or how pretty does it look? And number 2 is skill. Skill is the ability to produce a desired outcome. So we all know a person who's good at everything they do. They're good at cornhole, ping pong, basketball. Those people are very skilled. That's something you can develop. So I'll answer it this way. If you have a very poor pattern and you're seeing very inconsistent results, even on your good days, the ball curves right, then it curves left, then it probably lies in your mechanics, and you probably need to see a coach and kind of fix some of that. But there's another example where someone has a beautiful swing, and I really couldn't teach them a whole lot from a mechanics perspective, but if they come through and they hit the ball on the shaft every time, the ball is going to go 45 degrees straight right. And that's potentially a mechanics issue, but more than likely it's a skill issue. you don't know where to hit the club on the face, and you need to practice that kind of skill. So I'll have a lot of my juniors practice hitting the toe, practice hitting the center, practice hitting the heel. And some of them are so precise. If I say hit it 11 millimeters on the toe, they can do it. And it's pretty sweet. So that's a skill thing. So I would say, you know, if you're playing one day and all of a sudden you get the shanks or you start topping it, like that's probably something where it doesn't necessarily require an overhaul. But if you have the same problem week after week after week after week, it's a mechanics issue and you need to fix your golf swing. So I think the answer is it depends, unfortunately. But you don't necessarily need to break it all down in order to get better results.
Yeah. I think JT, they asked him the other day about Nick Dunlap, and he was like, hey, kid, like, you know, make sure you don't go change a whole lot now. Like he was talking about, you know, when you become a pro and there all these equipment deals and this and that are coming your way, that you're going to start like tweaking all this kind of stuff. It's like, hey, remember what got you here? Like, keep working on that. So you don't always need to be changing stuff, right? Like, so.
And one thing us instructors always try to like ask ourselves, and it's to hold ourselves accountable. It's like if an 18-year-old Jim Furyk walked in and had a lesson with you, would you have ruined him? And it's like, oh my gosh, like would I have changed that swing? And it's terrifying to think that maybe you would have, right?
Yeah.
So whenever I start a lesson, and if anyone takes an online lesson, I'm always going to ask you what the problem we're trying to solve is. If Jim would have walked in and said, I don't know, I hit it pretty straight, I'd have said, all right, let's go work on like wedges and putting and let's see let's stress test it on the course. But if you walk in and you slice the crap out of it, like everyone says, swing your swing, I'd say swing your swing if you want to keep sucking in that scenario. But like in Jim Furyk's case, I pray I wouldn't have changed that, right? That would have been terrible. So I think you make a good point there. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. Some of these questions, like, I don't even know what they're asking. So that's why I'm glad that you're here. Like, I'm like, okay, I can't, I'm trying to think about what this would look like, but that's why you're here. All right. So the next question, what's the cause for the hips opening up too soon and transition? I hang back and do like a flip motion was what they wrote.
All right. So I'm going to call that kind of a couple different issues. And I don't think one causes the other. Those are maybe isolated variables, but I heard hip spin open and hang back and flip.
Yeah. That's
all right. So I'll start with the hip spinning open first. Well, we have to understand I'm in a spinny chair here. So this is perfect. When I rotate backwards, my hands move behind me. When I rotate forwards, my hands move outward. So if I have too much of this spinniness with the hips, my hands move out and I swing over the top. Okay. So usually what that player is missing, if they're spinning open with the hips, is they're missing a lateral slide with the pelvis, meaning it's not really twisting all that much, but it needs to move laterally towards the target more. When you're moving laterally, it's harder to spin. And the sequence of really good players is kind of a lateral slide, then some rotation, and then some vertical. So what we would want to probably see this player do is get to the top of their swing, and then to initiate the downswing, feel more lateral with the pelvis. Feel like you shift your weight forward with your lower body while keeping the upper body kind of still in the same spot. So that's probably the first issue. The second issue, you talked about hanging back and flipping. Well, we already know if we're not pushing our weight forward, it's going to feel like we're hanging back, right? So by not getting the pelvis enough forward, you've contributed to that hang back, right? And then flipping, there's a bunch of reasons you can flip. I'll say the most common one is probably an open club face on the downswing. So to square the club face, a lot of times a player will keep their weight on their right foot. They'll stall the rotation of their body and they'll just flick forward with their hands because that actually helps square the club face a little bit. Super inefficient, but that's what golfers learn to do when they have a bad pattern.
Okay.
Does that make sense? You're the fitness. I mean,
yeah, I'm the non-golf professional. So yeah, that made sense to me. And it kind of reminds me of the very first swing lesson I got was actually at a Golf Tech, by the way. And the guy basically told me, he was like, you would be a terrible, he's like, you wouldn't even hit the ball if you didn't have like good high eye-hand coordination to probably do something like that, right? Like I understood I had to get the club face on the ball somehow. So I may have done, you know, that might be part of the reason, right? They flip it or they do this or do that so they can hit the ball.
Yeah, it's a testament to your athleticism. So a lot of people will come in and they'll say like, oh man, I got to fix my chicken wing. And the chicken wing, or like in this case, the flip, like that's a symptom and not a root cause. It's a symptom of something that happened before that. Nobody woke up and thought, you know what I want to do is I want to cast and flip today. Like that didn't happen. There's something going on in the chain of events prior to that that's actually forcing you to do that just to be able to play the game.
Right.
Like in your case, to get the club on the ball.
Yeah. I mean, you said it to me, right, about my early extension. You're like, if I didn't early extend, well, I think you're.
Oh, you'd be a 15.
Yeah, you said I'd be a 14 instead of a 4.
Exactly.
You're like, you have to early extend, or else you're gonna just. Well, I don't even know what I would do with the ball, but it wouldn't be good.
You'd hit huge slices. You would, or poles. Yeah. So, but yes, exactly. Good point.
All right, let's move on to the next one. So yeah, that was good. I didn't quite understand that one, so that makes sense now. Why do I keep hitting behind the ball? Like these are like all over the social media. You see someone that gets up there, they take like a minute, like waggling, and then they chunk
and then
it.
They hit a foot behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do people do that so often?
Again, some of the instructors I know, we kind of have like this running joke. I talked about Furyk, and then also we have a job because people hit too far behind the ball, not too far in front of the ball. Like in a general like summarization, a lot of what we do is get people to hit the ground more forward. So there's a couple things, and I'll try to make it not super long-winded, but number one is your mass location. So if I move my mass, meaning my shoulders, my hips, all my weight to my back foot, and then I don't get it back forward, well, the more I move back, the more I'm sort of programming where I hit the ground to be too far back. Okay. So the first step is usually like, hey, let's make sure we're not moving too far off the ball in the backswing. Okay. So that's number one. And if that's you, super simple drill is to like put your golf bag right by your trail hip and just turn away from it. Don't let yourself bump into it. That's the most common thing I see is like a sway or a slide away from the target. And some pros can do that. People will point at a pro that slides and they'll say, well, he can do it. And I'm like, well, he hits 1,000 balls a week. Mm-hmm. You come out twice a week after work. And that's the whole point. If you slide far away, you also need to slide far forward, and timing that can get difficult. So that's number one. Number two is shaft lean. So when I have a shot that I'm trying to hit off the ground, ideally I hit that shot with the club leaning forward and not back. And the reason for that is that directly influences where I'm about to hit the ground. It's really hard to have your hands back and then just sort of chop down and hit in front of the ball. And we could talk about how to get shaft lean. I think that might be one of the other questions you mentioned. Am I right on that? Otherwise, I can touch on shaft lean.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead and hit on it. I don't see a shaft lean.
Well, so shaft lean is a couple different components, but the most common reason people don't have shaft lean, like I mentioned in the other guy's case, is that the club face is too open. And so when the club face is too open, to square it, if you lean the handle back, you can actually get it to look straight, but it's got a ton of loft. It's going to go super high. Mm-hmm. So while that works, if the ball's kind of teed up in the rough, so if you really like hitting off the rough when it's teed up nice and high, this might be you. But leaving the handle backwards, it does get the face to square if it's too open, but it also it's so hard to control where you hit the ground. So getting the handle to lean forward usually involves closing the face sooner. And you can do that through grip, through some wrist mechanics. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. So mass location, shaft lean, and the last thing, I guess there's kind of two more, rotation. So the more open I am with my chest and my hips, the easier it is to hit more in front of the ball. So I like to tell people, think of your sternum having a flashlight. Wherever it points as you hit the ball, that's kind of where you might hit the ground. It gives you a good predictor. And then the last thing I say is intent. So it kind of ties back to skill, but like if I had a line on the ground and I had $1 million on the forward side and you owe me $1 million on the backside, I promise, like whoever it is, they would figure out how to hit in front, right? So intent plays a large role, and really all that does is it organizes your joints and your movement to absolutely ensure you do what you're trying to do. So there's some give and take there. You could do some other things poorly, but I promise you'll hit the ground in front. So best drill for that, take a tee and lightly scratch it into the dirt, set the ball right on the line, make 3 practice swings, taking a small divot in front of the line, and then step up to the ball and try to recreate the feel. That's the simplest one, and it's perfect. And if you're in a bunker, you can do the same thing if it's a practice bunker, and you can take little practice swings and just note where your club hits the sand. I'm serious. We have jobs because people hit too far behind. So,
yeah, I think who did I see? I think it was DeChambeau had someone he was working with on the range. You know, he's got like some cronies that he like runs around with. Yeah. It's kind of funny on his YouTube channel. But anyways, like he was the first thing he had someone do. I can't remember who it was, man or woman, but literally he just like was on the driving range and he just made a line and he said like hit 100 shots in front of that line. He's like, make 100 divots in front of this line. And
there's some good value there. Some good value there. I think they may not know what they're doing, and for some people, like that might be good. Like if you tell someone, hey, I need more shaft lean and your mass needs to be more forward, and then you tell the next person, hey, just hit in front of the line. A lot of times that you see more success when you just say, hey, just hit in front of the line, figure it out. So I actually love that.
Yeah. I think, that was when I was working with my wife. The few things that I know, like I could tell she would just kind of hang back and she would like hit the ground. She hit a lot of fat shots. And I also think she was also just a lot of amateurs. They probably don't realize you're hitting down on the ball to get it to go up. Yeah. I think she wants to create loft and, get it high. And
sure. It's common misconception is like, I just want it to go high, like especially beginner golfers, man. I want the ball to go up in the air. I don't even care if it goes left or right. Well, you still need some interaction with the ground. If this is the ball and my club never quite gets down underneath the ball, well, obviously it's not going to go in the air. What sends the ball up is the loft. It's pointed up. So this is the loft. It points up at the sky. But trying to lift the ball up, if this is the ball, well, that's when you usually lean the shaft backwards and you start hitting it on the way up, and then you just top it.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I do that with my 3-wood sometimes. So
we can look at that.
But anyways, so next up, what's a good way to practice or exercise? Oh, they threw the exercise one on this. I might get to chime in to initiate the downswing, firing the hips.
Awesome question. So this guy knows a little bit about golf. So in the proper downswing like sequence, if we're a player who's good or swings fast, it kind of starts with the lower body, right? So you have the hips, they go first, then the torso, then the arms, and the last thing to fire is the club. And that's how you get the club to move the fastest. So what I'll see a lot of times is people will move all those segments together, or they'll move the club first and then the shoulders and then the hips, and it's all over the place. So best drill I know, and it takes some discipline, but you go to the top of your swing, or at least 80% of the way back, you completely pause. And by pause, I mean stop for 2 or 3 seconds. You lift your left heel off the ground just enough that you could slide. I said left heel, I meant lead heel. So if you're a lefty golfer, it'd be your right heel. You lift your lead heel just enough where you could slide a grape underneath it. And then what starts your downswing is you squishing the grape.
Okay.
So you slam the left foot down and squish the grape, the imaginary grape, and then you swing as fast as you can. That's the best, easiest drill I know. And it helps a ton of golfers. So some people will do like the step drill where they have their feet together, they swing back, and then they step. The problem with that is most people don't step soon enough. They just step as they're coming down. And that doesn't create this big fitness guy. That doesn't create disassociation between the upper and the lower, which is what we need for speed. Right?
Right.
What we need to do if we're going to do the step drill is take the club back, and when it gets about shoulder high, that's when your step should start. So your step should be moving as the club finishes the backswing. That starts the disassociation between the hips and the shoulders, if you will. So maybe you can chime in on that big word.
Oh, and the disassociation word. Yeah, we love those. So it's disassociation is always some type of combination of mobility and stability, right? Like, so to get our lower body to turn first, we'd want to have like a stable, core, and then mobile hips, right? And then to the other way around, like we still want like our glutes to be stable and our thoracic spine to be mobile, so that way they can move independently of each other when we want them to.
Yes.
And I think, one thing that's been a hot topic for me lately and on some of my other podcasts, and I was on 18 Strong's podcast the other day, and his thing to ask me was how I feel about golf exercises versus golf drills. And it might be a good thing for you and I to talk about on here, because I think that in the world of golf fitness, it can get a little muddy of what we're asking someone to do in the gym, right? So like the drills that you've given me, I've never like tried to like turn them into like a band exercise, right? Because I don't think that it's going to contribute any way to my physical fitness. And it's probably going to be some watered down version of the drill that you gave me that's better with a golf club in my hands. So I think, as far as like exercises go, so this question was a good way to practice or exercise to initiate the downswing, firing the hips. It's going to be just to work on their more stability in the lower body, just getting strong, mobile, and powerful will help them do that. And you can do that with every exercise. It doesn't have to be a specific exercise like you described a specific drill with the grape, right?
Yes.
That's the drill they should do. In the gym, they should just do everything. You should squat, you should deadlift, lunge, do every kind of exercise, not be like, hey, let me try to do this, grab a band or a cable and try to do this like motion where I'm firing through my hips and right.
No, don't do that.
Do what you did, get a golf club in your hand or not. And do the grape drill. Like that's what we should do.
I completely agree. I think the funniest thing is like when you see a clip or something and someone's just like got weight on a band or anything, and they're just like mimicking a golf swing and they're not going fast or anything. It's just like, I'm like, what are you doing? So that's a waste of time. So yeah, 100%. Golf drills are different than golf exercises.
Exactly.
Completely.
Yeah. That's become a topic because people are always like, hey, what can I do in the gym to stop my early extension? I'm like, hey man, if I knew what to do in the gym to stop my early extension, like I'm physically fit as shit, right? I wouldn't be early extending. It's not a physical capability issue.
It's a golf swing problem.
It's a golf swing problem, right?
Yep. So for our listeners, they might not know what early extension is.
Oh yeah, hit on that.
So our hips, they have, I guess every joint, right? But you can have flexion and extension, right? Well, the hips do go into extension, and it's a powerful thing and it's a good thing. But if it happens early, meaning too soon, what you'll notice in the downswing of golfers, usually, I guess it could happen at any point in the swing, but the hips will move in toward the golf ball. So when that happens, the hips move in and the chest moves out. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times what this does is for any golfer who's too steep, meaning the swing is too outside in or the shaft gets really vertical on the way down, if you start to move your hips in and your chest back, well, it actually pushes the club more behind you. So it's a shallowing mechanism. And this is why I said you would be a 14 instead of a 4. If you stayed in your posture and you were super steep, you would swing like 15 degrees over the top. And that's why you'd be terrible. But you've learned that if you early extend, meaning you push your hips in and your chest backs up, the club does shallow a little bit and you can hit it straighter. The problem is it compromises a lot of other functional components. However, you figured out that that's the way to do it. So the hips do go into extension, but the timing of when it happens is super important. So that's what early extension is.
Yeah. And is it still like, so we both did TPI.
Yeah.
I feel like their number was like 80% of amateur golfers early extend, I believe. Yes. Is it still like the most prevalent?
It's got to be close to that. It's very prevalent. Now, I'm going to say that I don't know what percentage of that is due strictly to physical limitations and what percent of that is doing something like you where they're just trying to hit the ball better, right? Mm-hmm. And they just don't understand it, right? So another reason someone might early extend is because the club face is too open, like common problem, right? And if they thrust their hips in and they back their chest out, it gives them some more time and some more room to kind of throw their arms at the ball, and they can get the shaft to sort of square. But again, it ends up being with no shaft lean, like we talked about. So I just see a lot of swing issues that cause early extension or that incentivize you to early extend. Big word there. If you remove the incentive to early extend, a lot of people stop and they just don't do it anymore. But then obviously there's a physical limitation standpoint to it that you're an expert in. And so it would be interesting to know what people have physical traits that just prove to you they're going to early extend, and then what amount of people do it because of something else happening in their swing that forces them to do it.
Yeah, I think, going back to my TPI days, right? Like they're the ones that really kind of paired the two things together. And I think it was like the overhead squat was like their number one thing to where you can see if someone is going to, and it could be an ankle limitation, hips, knees, upper body. So, I mean, it could be anything, right? Like but I think commonly for men, it's probably going to be like a hip thing, right? It's going to be like lack of hip mobility or just lack of strength to like get them into to get that depth in their hip, right? Like they don't have the internal rotation or they don't have the core and hip or glute strength to get it back there either.
100%. But
I do think I think it can be almost anything, right? Like there can be quite a few physical limitations that can cause people to do that.
Yes. And that's why I feel like having a fitness professional, having a golf instructor, like you can identify that. Some people that have the club face in a great spot, their plane is really good, they rotate really well, like that person shouldn't early extend, but if they do, I know it's not because of something happening in their golf swing and you need to go see Cody. Like for you being in the gym, it's like, oh man, this guy has terrible hip mobility. He's got terrible his hamstring strength is 0. So there's things you could be like, this swing could look like anything. But like for me, I can kind of say, okay, based on this and this, I would fix this first and then retest. But obviously with you kind of have the luxury of knowing right away.
Yeah. I mean, the one things I told you when we first started working together, I was like, hey man, I should be able to physically do anything that you asked me to do, except for my wrists. My wrists are a little messed up, but the rest of my body, I should be able to do it. So tell me what to do and I'll figure it out. And without adding some like crazy, like drill, like exercise in the gym, like, oh, let me get this crazy banded thing going on.
No, I've had people ask me like, hey, what could I do in the gym? And honestly, with my TPI background, I probably have enough like kind of knowledge to give them some advice. But like my advice is always, I'm not a fitness professional, I'm a golf professional. So go see someone who really knows what they're talking about, because I don't.
Yeah.
I can tell you if something looks good or bad, but I don't know if it's what you should be doing.
And vice versa. Like when people start asking me about their swing, I'm like, hey man, like I'm a decent golfer. Like I get my way around, but there's a lot of things wrong with my swing. You need to go see someone else to work on your swing. And I don't think there's any guys in my space that are swing coaches. I think there's a couple, but I don't,
I'm trying to think like
we're pretty separate people.
Yeah, right. I agree completely.
Because there's so much for you to know about the swing, and there's so much for me to know about the body. Like
it would take up another 10 years of education for me to go learn like half of what you know. So the risk reward's not worth it. The best thing to do is like have a trainer, have a golf pro, and like we can work together sometimes. Like I have a couple members here that go see trainers in the area, and I love chatting with them. Like I can, send them a recent swing and say, hey, hip mobility is looking a lot better. And they love that. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I try to send people to you and other swing coaches like all the time, you for online, like if they want someone in person, like, go see a swing coach, please. Like it'll help you out so much. Same thing when like people get hurt. I'm like, go see a physical therapist. Like don't live your life. Like if you love golf, don't wait like another 2 to 3 years to like fix your swing. Yeah. Like let's go see someone today and like let's start getting it better.
Go fix the root cause, right?
Yeah, and then in 3 years you're gonna be playing so much better. Like stop wasting your time. Same thing in the gym. Like let's get in shape today. Let's stop waiting until it's too late.
Correct.
So, all right. So next up, what does proper weight balance look like at address and during the swing?
Okay, good question there too. It's common misconception. We talked about where we hit the ground being very important. Common misconception, I would say, is we got to shift our weight a ton in the backswing, and that's going to be somehow powerful. I'm going to say there is a little pressure shift. Pressure, weight, I guess we could almost use simultaneously. They are very different, but for the viewers, I'm going to kind of use them the same. At address, if you measure really good golfers, typically they have a little bit more weight on their front foot than they do their back foot. So call it 55-45. As you take the club away, pressure will increase in the trail foot. And about the time your lead arm gets parallel to the ground, meaning in the backswing, you get about 2/3 of the way there, pressure will reshift and start moving into the front foot. As you transition and start your downswing about halfway down, that's when the peak force reaches the lead foot. So you're pushing really hard there. So I would start with a tiny amount on your lead foot. As you take the club back, you could feel a little push on your trail leg. But the biggest key here is as the club loads up to the top and your hands get, just below shoulder high, that's when you need to start. It's called recentering and pushing your weight back forward. Too many amateurs take the backswing and they think, oh yeah, I need to shift my weight. And like halfway through the backswing, they move way back here. Now you're not going to hit the ground in the right spot. Now you've lost your sequencing or your ability to create power, and you're not able to sort of get that weight recentering or the pressure recentering so you can get the low point forward where you hit the ground forward and create more speed. So biggest thing there, I'd like you to start a little bit on your lead side. I don't really care how much you move off the ball. If we're into long drive stuff, we might be working on moving 2-3 inches off the ball. But when your hands get just below shoulder high, you need to be starting to get your weight back to your lead foot. Okay. That's a great question.
Something just came to my mind that I was told years ago, and I've never really thought about it since, to be honest with you. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this. So about like moving around the ball. And someone said, like if you're a beginner, you should try to stay pretty center with the ball, because now you're turning the little white ball that's not moving into like a moving target. And that kind of made sense to me because like I guess I was like kind of swaying and sliding off the ball a whole lot, and so like it got me to kind of rotate and like stay a little more on top of the ball. Like, is that ever something you've ever heard? Because it seemed to make sense to me at the time, but
right. No, I completely understand how it would make sense to someone. I would say this: the biggest key in golf and why I have a job is that people can't hit in front of the ball; they hit behind the ball. So low point to me is more important than some of that other stuff. I think staying centered on the backswing is great for beginner golfers. But what a lot of people don't understand, they'll then try to remain centered on the downswing. And that sort of forces them not to push their weight forward like it needs to be to hit the ground in front. So I would say in the backswing, absolutely great advice. Try not to move laterally that much. But also, I don't like the idea of being still because we do need to rotate. There's some thoracic extension, like a lot of stuff going on that in a 2D camera, it might look like your head stayed still. But even if we measure some of the best players, their heads are moving around a little bit too. But from a simplicity standpoint, if you're a beginner, removing a lot of lateral move away from the ball, that's generally a good idea. But I think, and I don't want to be misquoted for this, but they've measured PGA Tour pros, and I think on the downswing, their pelvis moves like 4 to 7 inches toward the target, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So stay centered in the backswing and make sure you can hit the line in front of the ball.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. But yeah, it's a good point. A lot of these like, and any more of these like cliches that you can think of in golf, I think my favorite might be keep your head down.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I hear people on the course all the time. Like they yell at us. I was like, and this guy's name is Dave. He's like, David, keep your head down. He's like yelling at himself. I'm like, calm down, Dave.
So I would challenge like anyone to turn on Golf Channel and just watch someone hit a shot. And if they look at the ground for more than a second after the ball's gone, I will Venmo them $100 because I've never seen it.
Yeah. And he would always say that when he's frustrated. I'm like, I don't think that's your problem, Dave. But I'm not the coach.
Yeah, so
here, so.
A lot of people will see like your early extension that we talked about, where their chest will come up, and they'll sometimes mislead that for a head coming up. So instead of head down, let's just agree as a community. We're going to say, keep your head down and brush the grass. Because when someone tops it, what's everyone say? Oh, keep your head down.
Yeah.
Well, a top can be caused by a lot of things. But if we just said, hey, let's keep our chest down and brush the grass, a lot of times that problem goes away.
I'm going to do that today. All right. This had to be my favorite question. I know this person, so I'm going to ask in a normal way. So should I practice left-handed swings? If I just swing righty, will it make me crooked?
So through the TPI stuff, this is a good one. I have actually learned that we have muscles that accelerate the club and decelerate the club. That's what I was told. I don't know if this is proven by science, but this is what I learned in my TPI courses. So the muscles that decelerate the club are important in the sense that our brain will only let us accelerate as fast as we know we can safely decelerate. So we've got to be able to safely stop the club or we'll break our neck, right? The club will crash into our neck. So I guess there is some science that says, hey, training speed sticks or whatever, if you're looking at speed sticks, ripstick is the best one. Left-handed actually trains some of those deceleration muscles. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I would just say, like, if you're going to work out your entire body, right? So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this because that's what I was told. But then, like, I don't know if it has practical application or not.
I mean, deceleration is huge, right? We can do that, with like med ball, like chops and things, where you're explosively slamming it. And I mean, you decel when you land in a jump. So, I mean, we're always we're doing a lot of deceleration in the gym. But this person like messaged me, they actually do my programming. And I was like, you know what? I don't think, you should be doing, if you're going to do the speed sticks, I definitely, know the validity in that. Like, yeah, definitely like do the left-hand swings for those reasons. But, as far as like, should I try to do some 100-yard wedges with left-handed, I was thinking no.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, and I think, second part of his question does come up like quite a bit in the golf fitness space. And it's like, when they see an exercise that, again, I try not to make them too like golf specific, but let's say we do like a single leg deadlift, right? And it's got a little rotation to it. So people will kind of think that's a golf specific exercise, which it is, and so is a normal deadlift to that extent. But they're always like, should I do both sides? I'm like, oh, absolutely. Like you need to do both sides. We're training that in the gym. So like, but the swing itself, right? Like we're always going to be a little, his word was crooked, but you're always going to be unbalanced, right? Like that's the nature of the sport.
100%. So when you're doing speed training, if you can get like 90% of your dominant hand swing with your non-dominant hand, like for me, when I do speed stick training, I think the fastest I've ever gotten is like 132. If I could be anywhere in the 110, 120 range with a left-handed swing, that's incredible. Like 90% is kind of that baseline. I'd almost call you ambidextrous if you were that good. But your right-handed swing is always going to be, it's going to be more optimized. It's going to be typically faster. And if your left-handed swing is faster, switch and take a lesson so you can hit it farther, because we know that distance means a lot in this game.
Right. Yeah. So it was just like, one of those things like, we'll try to make you a little more balanced in the gym, but throughout our lives, we're all unbalanced. Like, no matter what, even if we don't play a sport, like we're not perfectly balanced. Like you vacuum your house, you brush your teeth, like with the right hand, if you're right-handed, it's just like these little things that we do no matter what. So we're always going to be unbalanced, but that's what the gym is for. And there is that, like, to make sure you don't injure yourself, things like that. It is good to make sure you train the other side and the deceleration muscles. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting question. But I did see like someone like qualified for a tournament the other day, like a pretty big one. And he was switch hitter or something like that.
That's amazing. I'm sure there's unicorns. Like I'm sure, I'll never say no one can do this, but if you are a typical average golfer and your handicap is between +4 and 44, I think there's better uses of your time than hitting 100-yard wedge shots with your non-dominant hand.
Yeah. I think
there could be some skill. You can maybe develop some skill. Like I've tried to hit balls left-handed just as a coach, so I can kind of feel what beginners feel occasionally.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can make some progress, but it's a pretty big waste of time in my opinion, most of the time.
I mean, like, what did this person do? Do you carry like 2 7-irons, one lefty, one righty, and then
I don't know.
And he's just at a course where he gets behind a lot of trees and he's got to, hack out a left-handed swing. I don't know.
I need to see that story because that's amazing if that's true.
Yeah, I think it was like a Monday qualifier or something, and he made it. Yeah.
Does he putt left-handed and do everything else right-handed, or is it swinging?
As far as I just read the caption, I'm pretty sure it was like, it said like switch hitting golfer makes cut or something like that, or whatever he did. Awesome. It probably wasn't a PGA event. Like it was obviously like a little, because that probably would have made more news, but
yeah.
It was pretty interesting, because obviously you're not going to be as good, right? Unless it's like you're magically just better with like a 56-degree left-handed than you are right-handed. Like there would really be no purpose to sacrifice a club for that.
I've only heard of instructors attempting it to sort of dive into the student's brain and what the motor learning side looks like. One of my colleagues, Luke Benoit, he's the director of instruction at Interlochen, awesome coach. He decided he was only going to play left-handed for a year or 2 years, and he thought he could break 80. And I don't know. I never followed up to see if he did it, but I think he got pretty close. He played in tournaments, I think, left-handed, shooting a couple of 84s, 86s, which honestly, in tournament conditions from 7,200 yards, like that's not that bad.
It's really good.
So
it's almost like the trainers that gain a bunch of weight and get fat to like prove their point, or I think it's more of like an ego thing, but they put themselves in their client's shoes. I've seen that before, but anyways,
are you gonna do that?
Hell no. I do it on accident all the time anyways. Like I don't need to purposely. I just got done. I'm cutting now. I just got done bulking. And I just get really sluggish. And I can eat so much food. Like, my in-laws always like make fun of me. Like I just eat everything. My father-in-law is a massive man. He's like 300 pounds. He's just jacked. Like massive man. And
you guys eat a lot of food at Thanksgiving.
Oh, we eat a lot of food. Me and him, and like we went to this restaurant. Like they have this challenge, like eat a giant steak, and he like kept trying to get me to do it. But anyways. I would have given it a run for its money, to be honest with you. But all right, so this question too, I really want to hear the answer to this because I have this problem, and I probably still do. Let's see, how did I write it down? So tips on alignment without someone there to check you. I have been told I line up okay, but right before I swing, I make an adjustment that points me right of my target, up to 20 yards right of my target, even on putts. And I questioned him. I was like 20 yards right, even on your putts. He's like, well, no, not that bad on my putts. I was like, I hope not. That'd be wild.
Right. So honestly, alignment is one of the hardest things because as a coach, I can't see or think what you're thinking. I can see your swing. I can't see what you're thinking when you stand up to the ball. So obviously the challenge is we're hitting a ball that's not on the same line as our eyes, meaning my eyes are here and my ball is out here, right? So there's a disconnect, and I don't know what the word, parallax maybe is the word, but like we can't really see straight lines. So like if you picked an object like a building 100 yards away and then you stood by your car and I asked you to walk 50 yards closer to the building in the middle and try to stand in the middle of both objects and we drew a line, you'd probably never be great at that. And it's the same thing when we're trying to line up to a ball that's not on our intended line. If I had you straddle the ball where your eyes were directly over it, you'd be really good at alignment. So some good things to do, obviously practice with an alignment stick, but when you lay the alignment stick down, I'll try and draw like an illustration here. If we're aiming straight and we have an alignment stick here and the ball is here, I like another alignment stick in front of the ball, but parallel to the one by your feet.
Right.
Then a couple feet out, 5, 10, 15 yards, put another stick and put it straight up and down in the ground. You can use a pool noodle or something, but having something that's on the, if this is the ball and you put the stick here and it's between your target and the ball, what you'll notice is when you set up to the ball, wow, that pool noodle or that stick is going to look like it's so far off to the right. So if you ever have to turn your head and pick it up to look at the target, you're aimed to the right. All you should do is have to tilt your head and your target should look like it's out here. So I would say majority of golfers with alignment issues, they aim to the right as right-handed golfers. If we could just tell everyone to feel like you aim a little bit more left, that's probably going to fix your problem. But the best way to sort of train your eyes is to get an object out there between the ball and the target, just 10, 15 yards, and recognize how far outside that looks. That's going to give you that feel when you're over the ball of, okay, I can recall, I feel like I'm aimed left, but I know that that stick would be about right here and I'm pretty close. The other thing I tell people to do is, like, I would challenge anyone who knows they align one way or the other, try to play a whole 18 holes, either doing it correctly or the opposite. Let's see what happens. Like, can you just go out and if you always aim 20 yards right, can you aim 10 yards left all day and see? I would guess you'd just set up pretty square if you did that. So it's a hard one. The other thing you can do is videotape yourself going through your entire routine and then hit the shot, go back to your phone and see where you were aimed. And then just calibrate from there. Okay, I was about 10 yards right there. I'm going to try to feel like I'm 10 more yards left, and then I'm going to hit again. And then just always try to train yourself to feel the opposite. But the other question might be, why are you aiming to the right? Is your club face too closed? Is your path not very good? What's causing like your brain to want to aim over there? Do you have a left miss pattern that shows up a lot? There's a lot of other things you could dive into there. I'll see a lot of people that hit the ball commonly slice it. They love to aim to the left because or subconsciously, like, they just want the ball to go in the fairway. That's all we want, right? So they're just trying to find any way possible, just like you early extending helps you get the club on the ball. Well, they just want the ball to go in the fairway. So a lot of times it's finding your bias in your shot pattern too, and noticing, okay, I miss 70% of the time to the left, and so my brain has started subconsciously aiming myself to the right.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Hopefully that was somewhat usable for viewers.
For sure. I mean, I remember when I had a coach down in Austin. We did a on-course lesson, which was a lot of fun, and that was like one of the most beneficial days on a golf course I've ever had. And he was recording me, and I actually didn't even know he was behind me, like recording me. And I'm setting up, I'm about to hit my shot, and we had just gone through this whole thing about being very specific about a target. He was like, "Don't aim for that tree." He's like, "Aim for the branch on that tree." You know, that was his method. But anyway, so we had just talked about doing that, set up to my next shot in the fairway or the rough or whatever. It was an approach shot. And so I picked my target, I'm setting up, and then I'm literally about to swing. He goes, "All right, stop." And he's like, "Come back." You know, he's recording me. And he's like, "Where are you aiming?" And I was like, that tree with the branch right there. He was like, "All right, look at this." And he like showed me the phone. He's like, "Now, where does it look like you're aiming?" And you know, this is years ago, so I can't remember, but it was nowhere near where I thought I was aiming. So,
and that's so devastating, right? Because it's like, if you're the golfer and let's just say you were aimed 20 yards right. If you hit a shot 20 yards right, like, I'm giving you the biggest high five on the lesson tee, and you're over there looking for your ball in the bunker. Yeah. Like, if you're on the golf course. So it's such a big deal, right? So it sounds so boring, but it's worth it to practice it and video it.
Yeah,
really
because
is.
you could flush it and like hit like the perfect shot, but your alignment was off, and it's like a terror. Now you're in deep shit.
And then the other issue with that is like you thought you were aimed at that tree by all means possible. So you come to the lesson team, you say, Justin, I'm hitting everything 20 yards right. And I'm like, really? Because it looks like you're hitting it dead straight. And so it gives you false feedback too as the player, like, oh my gosh, I'm hitting everything 20 yards right. No, you're not, dude. You're flushing it. You're doing great. But your aim sucks.
Yeah.
So.
And that'd be like a good thing. Like, okay, we'll just fix that.
Yeah, right. That'd be way easier to fix than
way easier
and playing and whatever.
Yeah. All right. Last question. So I think we'll kind of wrap it up after this question. I think we kept it around an hour, so I think we did pretty good.
We did all right.
Yeah, we did okay for our first time here. So this is another one from one of my members of Lift Heavy Swing Fast. She's awesome. And her thing was pretty much her questions about like on-course management. She gave us some of her stats, and you and I looked them over. And so yeah, her question was like off-season putting practice and on-course management. And so I think you and I, actually let's pass this over to you. Like she gave us 3 stats, and one of them really stuck out to us. So like,
right.
Take that over.
And don't let me forget to touch on the putting real quick before we're done. But her stats were eye-opening. I would say every golfer should track their greens in regulation, meaning how many birdie putts did I have today. I'm not saying you have to make them, and I'm not saying you need to hit them past the hole. That's terrible advice. But I am saying the more greens you hit in regulation, the better your potential is to score lower. So greens in regulation is one of the most important stats to pay attention to if you're paying attention to your handicap or what you shoot, stuff like that. More greens is better. Now, this particular player had a pattern that I see all the time. I think she hit somewhere in the mid-30s on greens in regulation. She missed a couple to the right, a couple to the left, and a couple long. She missed 40 or 42% short, which is so common with your everyday golfer. So everyone thinks they hit it farther than they do. And too many people don't try to hit it closer to the middle of the green. So I actually saw it's not just amateur golfers. It's also pro golfers. So if you know what Decade is, Scott Fawcett, awesome program. It helps with course management. And he showed me a slide one time it showed how many greens in regulation tour pros hit to a front pin and to a back pin. And I think the title of the slide was Even Pros Suck to Front Pins, because everybody was short. And it's like, if you took that entire scatter plot and you moved it up to the middle of the green, their scoring average would go down significantly. So I think the lesson here is we don't hit it as far as we think we do. And hitting it to the middle or the back third of the green is great advice for most golfers. Now, when he took the next slide, Scott did, and he showed me how good they were to back pins. Well, notoriously on the PGA Tour, if you miss long over a green, most greens will slope away from you if you hit it over the green, and it makes your chip really difficult. So a lot of them know like they can't go long. Mm-hmm. So when they have back pins, they typically try to hit it just a little short of it. Well, their green and regulation percentage goes way up because now they have all this distance short of the green to still hit it. And their scoring average is actually, I think, a little bit better to back pins than it might be to front pins. Don't quote me on that. But the lesson is like, I guarantee if everyone tracked their stats, most of the greens you miss, they're going to be short. It's not left, right, or long. Most of them are short. So club up, try to hit to the back third of the green. If you played an entire 18 holes like that, you'd probably hit more greens in regulation.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that before where I don't even look. I don't even pull my now that I got my watch that like tells me yardage to the middle of the green. I won't even like pull out like my rangefinder and look at where the flag is or shoot it. And it's like, okay, just here's my yard, 150 middle of the green. Cool,
go.
Let's hit that.
Yep. Exactly. And there's so much value in that. Like people don't understand the difference between having a 10-yard putt and a 10-yard chip is astronomical. If you could multiply that over 18 holes, you're going to score so much better. So greens in regulation, I know it's an ego thing, but we all don't hit 7-iron 190. I promise, right? Know your distances. If you have a chance to get on like a TrackMan or a launch monitor of some sort, pay attention to the carry number, not the total number. Right. I doubt it rolled 25 yards. That might be just a setting on the thing where it has the fairways being super firm. Like pay attention to your carry number and try to carry it to the middle of the green.
Yep. I like that.
And
yeah. I've scored really well. playing for the middle of the green, playing for pars.
Exactly. And I know a lot of coaches will like take the flag out for 9 holes and they'll just have students hit to the middle of the green on every hole. And those players undoubtedly score better because that just temptation to go with the flag is less. Now, I'm not saying you could never go with the flag. I'm not saying pros never go with the flag. I am saying there needs to be a method to the madness of like, okay, that pin is on the left. There's a bunker I've never gotten up and down out of right next to it. And there is 60 feet to the right of this. I know it's only 100 yards, but if I had to hit this shot 1,000 times, where would my optimal aim point be? Probably not at the flag.
Right.
Regardless of how good you are. Right.
Yeah.
So there's a method to that. But I did want to touch on the putting because I think a lot of our viewers might be indoors right now. Yes. And the only thing they can do is putt. And so this goes back to some stuff that Luke Benoit at Interlochen taught me. He's taught me a lot about practice and learning. And so the most eye-opening thing he really ever said to me was the biggest waste of time is making 100 3-foot putts in a row. And I said, wow, really? Why? And he said, well, think about it. You drove to work this morning and you probably couldn't tell me if the third stoplight was red or green. And you probably couldn't tell me if you passed a red car or not. Why? I was like, I don't know. I drive to work every day. He goes, that's the point. Your brain goes into autopilot at some point. So we've all driven to work at one point, gotten there and been like, oh my gosh, how'd I get here? Right? Because our brain kind of turns on autopilot. Well, the same thing happens if you keep hitting the same putt over and over again. Your brain will start saying, that one was an inch to the right. Let's go an inch more to the left. That one was a foot too hard. Let's go a foot shorter. All you're doing is reacting to the previous result. You're not going through your entire process. And as we all know, when we get a 3-footer on the course, it never feels like the 40th in a row 3-footer that you've practiced, right? So the lesson here is introduce some variability in your putting. Even if you are only going to practice 3-footers, put it on the left side of your mat and then the right side of your mat and then the left side of your mat and your right side of your mat, then the middle, then the outside. Move it 6 inches closer, move it 6 inches farther. Make your brain go through the mental gymnastics. Do not let it sit there on cruise control. You're not actually learning or getting better. Now, I say that only if you're not working on a very specific movement in your swing or your putt, right? So if you have a tendency to really flick your wrists and you just want to practice not flicking your wrists, well, don't waste time moving to different spots. I get what you're trying to do. The best way to do that in that scenario is actually to not even putt to a hole. Don't give yourself the feedback. Don't give yourself the feedback of make or miss. Give yourself the feedback of broke my wrist. Darn it. Didn't break my wrist. Good job. But if you're practicing your performance or holing putts, do not practice the same putt over and over again. It's just not as effective long-term as it is making it very random.
Yeah. I mean, you did the same thing to me, like in our, my first few like weeks working with you. It was like, I didn't get to hit a golf ball. It was like what you told me to hit, like balled up socks.
Balled up sock, ping pong ball, tennis ball, dog toy. I don't care.
Yeah. Because the ball messes up what you're working on.
Yeah, exactly. So a big part of making someone good at golf, like a lot of my online students I have doing this, if you want to make your golf swing better faster, and I think most people do, the best way to do it is occasionally to remove the feedback of the ball flight. And why is that? Well, we all are creatures of like instant gratification. We can't wait to see the ball go straight. Well, I know that like the first time you brush your teeth left-handed isn't going to be as good or organized or smooth as the 100th time you brush your teeth left-handed if you were to try. It's the same thing when you change something in your swing. Mm-hmm. The best way to get better fast is to remove that feedback. Do not let them see where the ball goes. Don't even let them feel the contact on the face, but change the shape. So like for you, it was get some more hip turn and don't really extend, right? And like a lot of people will do that. And if the first shot's not perfect, they're like, well, that didn't work. What's next? I'm like, no, that's not the point. So removing the feedback is like super important if you want to get someone to change fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I see it be very effective.
And that reminds me, I got to go do that right now. So
that's right.
Yeah. So I'm ready to get back at it, dude. I mean, thank you so much for coming on here. I hope we can do this again because we had so much interest in, I had so many people like reach out to me like for questions about this that we just honestly didn't get to pick all of them. So we might have to do this again at some point. I'd love to have you on here again. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, let's do it. And then if anyone listening, you can find me on Instagram at Crafty Golf with a K. If you're interested in online lessons, I'm currently, taking those, but don't hesitate to reach out. And if you heard the podcast, shoot me a DM, something. I check those regularly. So I'd love to connect with you guys.
Yeah. And I got to commend you again, like how good of a coach you were, like holding me accountable. Like if people really are looking for that, for someone to message you every few days, say, hey, where the swing's at, where the practice is at. If you need that extra push, Justin does that, and it was fantastic. So yeah,
appreciate
thank
that.
you, man.
Yeah, thanks, Cody.
All right, man. So thanks you guys for listening, and have a great day.